So I got early access to Durin, and he is quite unique. And I'm not just talking about the fact he doesn't use his own wings to glide. See, the thing is, Durin can be used in so many different team comps, and he's actually really good for them. Not only that, both his white and dark mode are kinda similar, and I assume a lot of people will prefer his white mode. But in reality, after testing them out, I can see why Dark Durin is really strong and fun to use. But there is a catch. Long story short, Durin's situation is complicated, but in this Constellation Zero showcase video, I am gonna reveal to you everything you need to know about this homunculus, which includes over 20 different team comps and loadouts I've tested, so that you can decide for yourself if he's worth pulling for.
20!
Okay, so because I'm gonna go through so many teams with Durin later on in the video, for now, he is equipped with Jade Cutter and Noblesse set, but I will sometimes mention if he's using a different loadout.
20's a lot.
And as for Jade Cutter, it's honestly just a stat stick, and it's easier to use it quickly in many teams, but Finale of the Deep is like almost on the same level, and I'll also showcase it as well. But yeah, other than that, Durin's talents are all raised to level 10, and he is obviously Constellation Zero. Oh, and I am on Creator Experience server, so final content is subject to change. Now, let's quickly go through his kit because, frankly, it's quite simple. So, his normal attacks deal physical damage, and they're like, whatever. But his charge attack is actually really unique. It's got one of the shortest animations I've seen, especially if you dash cancel it, and it actually will become one of his main moves to unload damage quickly. Wanna talk about his dark mode
with really quick.
C6 Bennett a bit later in the video. But moving over to the skill,
that's a lot of stamina
really
usage though.
Choose if you want to play either white or dark Durin. After pressing the skill, and if you tap it again, he does this cool jump and plunge attack and enters white mode. But if you instead tap his normal attack,
it's like Nilu
claw, which looks really cool, and enters the dark mode. However, the damage he deals with.
I remember the old days when Mr. BB had the time to do weapon damage difference breakdowns in his guides. Yeah. Unfortunately, in this day and age, though, people no longer really care about that stuff, which is fine. In COVID, we had like infinite time, so I could deep dive into like really, really nitty gritty shit, you know? Well, like nowadays, I have to cater towards a different YouTube audience. Most of them just want to be told how to play a character, and that's totally fine. Yeah. Nilu has 2 modes? Yeah, except one of the modes is used 99% of the time, which is the E mode, right? The aura mode. Her normal attack is like used almost never. But it's the same in terms of this. You tap the skill to activate it, and then you do either normal attack or you E for the end phase to trigger the mode. It's the same thing.
Either of them is small. Don't worry, his skill makes up like 3% of total damage output. The rest of it comes from the burst. Anyway, the most important thing about the skill is that whichever mode you enter, he also immediately recovers 33 flat energy at skill level 10 or 30 at level 9. So yeah, this means you will want to max out the skill so Durin doesn't have to build energy recharge.
Interesting.
Finally, this brings us to the meat and potatoes of his kit, the burst. So depending on which mode he was in and when you use the skill, he will unleash one of 2 different bursts. They both will initially deal about the same damage, which will be 3 separate hits after the animation ends, and the damage is yet again pretty weak. But then afterwards, his coordinated attacks and passive effects will be different. Also, one interesting thing to note, even if you didn't use his skill, his burst by default then forces him to enter into white mode, which can actually be useful in some rotations, like this one here, where Durin starts it by first using the burst, then double taps the skill to regain energy, and swaps out with his white mode assisting Venti's team. But yeah, so the first difference between white mode and dark mode when it comes to coordinated attacks would be how the attacks are unleashed. In white mode, the burst attacks have a big AoE, and an attack is released periodically every second, while the ICD is every other hit. So
can't beat Xiangling. Still to this day, you cannot beat Xiangling. Xiangling still remains ICD every attack as fast as it can hit. This is pretty good. You know, this is every 2 seconds.
So every 2 seconds or so. However, when it comes to dark mode, his attacks become single target. Like, they do have a tiny AoE, as you can see I hit 2 enemies here, but just treat it as single target to be honest. On top of that, these attacks are slower, launched every 1.25 seconds or so, and also has ICD every other hit. Still, if you look at the multipliers, the dark periodic hits have 233%, while white hits have 170% at talent level 10. So yeah, dark mode is preferably best fast against single target,
Okay.
since it will then deal more damage. Either way, the burst will last for 20 seconds with 18-second cooldown, and as you can see, the cost is 70 energy, but with the skill replenishing up to 33 energy on each use, plus the 4 pyro particles, effectively his burst cost is 37 at skill level
That's pretty
10
low.
or 40
Fine.
at level 9. Now, this leaves us with the 2 passive effects, which both only trigger when his burst is used. And the first passive basically states that while the white mode burst is active, whenever burning, overload, pyro swirl, pyro crystallize, or
remove the
cost,
stuff in the
or when
background so
burning
you can see
enemies hit
clear.
with either dendro or pyro, they will lose 20% resistance of pyro and the other element which was reacted with for 6 seconds.
We're getting a lot more characters like this, chat. So any pyro related reaction will reduce the res of pyro and then the corresponding thing used to proc it. Notably, other than vape and melt, I see. That's pretty important. That's pretty important that vape and melt are not part of this.
This can be refreshed easily, and to put it simply, white mode Durin can shred any element besides cryo and hydro. But why not those 2 elements? Well, that's because when he is in dark mode, he instead will increase his own vape and melt damage by 40%. In other words, dark Durin is best utilized in hydro/cryo or vape melt teams,
Is
while
this
other
a
elements that
final
want the
damage
resistance
bonus?
shred should be utilizing white Durin. However, that's not all. When Durin is in a team with another Hexarai unit, since he is also Hexarai, his special Witch's passive multiplies the values of this first passive by 70%. So that means with 2 Hexarai on team, he will now help shred 35% resistance in white mode, and his dark mode will improve his vape and melt
Minus
damage
35%
by
res.
70% instead. This is a huge deal because that 70% vape melt increase translates to as if he would have 500 extra EM at least. You can also see here the difference of his vapes. In white mode, he hits for about 89.
So 90k to 158k. Yeah. So it's about 70%. I'm not sure if it's a final damage multiplier though. It seems like it is because it says increased by. It's not like a damage bonus amount. But I assume that if you have elemental mastery, it'll be heavily diminished, right? Because EM directly translates to your vape and melt to do X more damage.
9,000 on a good day, but in dark mode, he nearly doubles that by unleashing 158k vape. Lastly, we have the second passive. This one is quite important because after the burst is casted, the next 10 hits will deal higher damage based on his attack. For every 100 attack he has, the damage is literally multiplied by 3%, and it maxes out at 75%, or when Durin has 2,500 attack.
Let's read this again. After unleashing an elemental burst, he gains 10 stacks of a buff. This seems like damage bonus.
This
God, so
threshold
many
will be
bonuses,
very important
man.
for him to reach.
Kind of hard
to
to
the point
follow.
That usually Pyro Goblet is fine on him, but if without buffs he cannot reach 2.5k attack, then Attack Goblet actually becomes better for him because these 10 empowered hits for either white or dark mode burst are huge. Also, interestingly enough, even if his white mode with AoE hits multiple enemies, only 1 stack is consumed, as you can see here. The damage only goes down after 10 hits on a group of enemies. Still, I would say overall, this second passive is a bit more impactful for Dark Durin, since his burst hits have higher multipliers, and usually they will also vape or melt. Okay, so that's his kit. In a nutshell, you use White Mode Durin as a support DPS for any team he can also help shred resistance, but if the team mainly specializes in vape or melt, then you should be using Dark Durin, so he can hit.
So they actually made dual mode. So there's no, I'm guessing that his DPS is competitive with other Pyro DPS, but white mode is his shred best in slot for some teams. Because like usually when it comes to Genshin design characters, they have one primary role. You don't really get a mix and match. But this is the first like definitive one where they go Giga Red Shred or also Vape Melt damage bonus. Like, long term, are we actually going to see both of these versions used, or is one going to be drastically more important than the other one? That's the big question.
For big damage with vapes or melts. But let me showcase all the teams I've tested so far. Okay, so first things first, I will be showcasing...
White mode is definitely more his primary one, unless you're using main DPS. His power-up can break Hydro Crowd auras for the actual main DPS. So are you saying his power application on support is too much? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm never going to use dark mode. I'm never going to use dark mode for like a sub DPS. So like like if you wanted to run him with the melt mav, that's what I mean. Okay. But here's the interesting thing. Dark mode has less power up, right? Is the gauge difference? I'm guessing dark mode attacks probably have stronger gauge than light mode, because light mode is once every second, so 2 seconds for ICD, so 2 seconds for power up, whereas dark mode is 1.25 per attack.
All of the other 7 Hexarai units along with Durin. I won't delve too deep into their kits, just briefly mention what they do now with some stat breakdowns and extra info at the bottom of the screen. Don't worry, I will be releasing shortly after either one big video or multiple videos covering all the Hexarai units in depth. But yeah, let's start with his dark mode teams because they are a bit specific and less varied than compared to his white mode. Now, the first team I really liked was with Farina, C6 Benny, and Mona. Since Mona is a Hexarai unit, she helps power up Durin's first passive, while Mona herself can extend the duration of her own debuff on enemy with normal or charge attacks. On top of that, her normal and charge attacks also build stacks, which can then be consumed to increase vaporized damage done by others. Also, in this team, Durin is actually equipped with Hunter's Set, since Farina helps enable it, and...
So, Durin looks pretty strong in terms of DPS. Like, just C0 here? Right? Like, this is pretty good damage. This is like this is like on par with High Constellation Arlecchino.
Farina, C6 Benny, and Mona. Since Mona is a Hexarai unit,
so
she
dark
helps power
mode
up Durin's first passive, while Mona herself can extend the duration of her Omen debuff on enemy with normal or charge attacks. On top of that, her normal and
how much?
Charge attacks also build stacks, which can then be consumed to increase vaporized damage done by others. Also, in this team, Durin is actually equipped with Hunter's Set, since Farina helps enable it. And with C6 Benny, Durin's normal and charge attacks are infused with Pyro. I just spammed his charge attack with Dash Cancel. It would also sometimes vape as well, so it could hit for around 100k or more damage, plus his Dark Mode burst can easily land around 200k damage. As for Mona, after using her burst, I stay with her and land 4 attacks to extend her Omen's duration and power up Durin's next vape. Plus, she's with Thrilling Tales, which will boost his attack when swapped to him last.
I see.
But yeah, it's a really fun team. I believe this is his best Dark Mode comp, but it would definitely be a lot worse without C6 Benny. On top of that, Mona is only C0 here, but her constant...
Does he have self-infusion at all? No. So that's why you actually do need C6 Bennett. Huh. So he's not actually intended to be dark mode. It's just like you can, but not his intended design. Because if it was an intended design, I feel like they would include self-infusion for him. So it seems like people are more preferring to go white mode Durin for the buffs. But obviously, in this day and age, everyone can be either support or DPS, so okay.
Constellations also have been buffed after she becomes a Hexarai member.
That's a pretty hefty requirement for people that are early game players.
With C4 Mona, you could expect to increase Durin's performance here by around 20 to 30%. I'll talk about this more in Mona's Hexarai video.
Wait, so he went over this. Let me go all the way back for this. This is pretty important too.
On top of that, Mona is only C0 here, but her Constellations also have been buffed after she becomes a Hexarai member, and long story short,
ADM for 12 seconds.
With C4 Mona, you could expect to increase Durin's performance here by
C4, when any party member attacks, their crit rate is increased by 15%, and their crit damage. So normal party member gets 15%. Hexarai gains an additional 15% crit damage.
Around 20 to 30%.
It's small,
I'll
but
talk
it's
about this
noticeable.
more in Mona's Hexarai video.
C6 is her own damage, right?
Now,
Okay.
there's
So
also
C6
a
is not
budget
for party.
during on-field vape team, or you could call it over-vape comp, but with Xingqiu, C6 Benny, and Fischl, it's pretty strong. Not as great as with Mona/Farina, but Fischl is also a Hexarai member.
I mean,
So
considering
she
that this team is non-premium, I think it's pretty good, right?
now boosts attack by 22.5% when overload is caught.
Holy fuck, Fischl, bro. And then C6 Fischl. What the fuck, bro? C6 Fischl gives 45% attack or 180 EM.
And EM by 90 when Electro Charge or Lunar Charge.
Wait, so if you have both vape and or a hydro related reaction, does C6 Fischl give both benefits? Yeah, both. That's gross. That's actually gross. So Fischl's optimal comp is actually always over vape now. Wow, that's gross. 45% attack and 180 M is a lot of stat. That's a huge amount of stat. Most characters just give 80 party wide. This is 45 and 180.
Charges cost. And in this team, you can get both buffs very easily.
Wow.
Not only that, her C6 also got updated, and it doubles the benefits of her Hexarai buff. So in fact, she's providing 45% attack and 180 EM
Thank
boost.
God Fischl got buffed. She really needed it. Yeah, man. Our role player definitely needed some buffs for sure, guys. For sure.
Since I enable her C6 here. Just keep in mind, this buff is only applied to Fischl and the on-field unit, not for the whole team.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. When you're doing a carry comp like this, only the main DPS matters.
So remember how I said initially Durin was equipped with Noblesse set? Well, usually that's what Benny has, so in
That's
that
actually
case,
insane.
you could give Durin like 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece 18% attack sets. I don't want to delve too deep here, but Durin basically doesn't have a good artifact set right now. Usually just use Noblesse, but if somebody
But
else
if these
has
buffs
it,
just mean
then
a
you can
trend
go
for higher HP
2-piece
enemies,
sets instead,
normal.
or maybe
That's
even
normal,
emblem
man.
set.
You're not gonna
But
expect
all
anything
in all,
different.
the gains
That's
are minimal
just
for him
par for
either
the course when
way.
it comes to these
I'll
games.
talk about this more in his guide on release day. But moving over, Dark Durin could also work quite fine when he's off-field. And this is the team where Mona acts as on-field hydro driver, and interestingly enough, this team also runs Albedo with Shilonen. Albedo is yet another
hell is this
Hexarai
team?
unit, and he basically can now summon Unbreakable
Wait,
Silver
what the hell is
Isotoma.
this
So his
team?
damage
This
is
is Mona
consistent
on-field
now
DPS.
and even boosted, while he
Off-field
provides up to
vape
12% damage boost for all units and 30% more for Hexarai units only. So in
Holy.
this team, Durin, Mona, and Albedo would gain 42% damage boost when he has 3000 defense, while Shilonen would only get 12%. But who cares? Her damage doesn't exist anyway. Still, I would say
Her
this team in
damage
particular is
doesn't
pretty
exist
good.
anyway.
Albedo actually contributes
Yeah,
a fair bit of
okay.
damage. We can see him usually hitting for around 64k with the flower, but Mona on the other hand, yeah, her damage is not impressive. It does become much better at C6 and allows her to become a really good on-field driver thanks to new Hexarai changes, but again, more about that in the Hexarai video. I swear, I need to stop saying this over and over. So if Mona is meh as an on-fielder, how about we invite into the party another dragon? That's right, this team of Neuvillette, Mona, and Shilonen is actually pretty fun to use. Dark Durin unleashes strong vapes off-field, and Nuvi does his usual Nuvi stuff. But let me show you this wacky Melt Durin team. So this comp is made up of Xlice, Shilonen, and Sucrose.
Interesting. So we include Sucrose because Hexarai. And then Sitlali is a stereotypical comp. So this is Melt Durin. And then Shilonen is typical. So this is basically the same thing as Mobica comp, but instead of Sucrose, instead of Bennett, you run Sucrose because you need Hexarai.
I start with Durin's skill, normal hit, then burst
Okay.
combo, swap to
see.
Shilonen to her 2 kicks after skill. Then when Sucrose shows up, I use both her skill and burst while the enemy still has Pyro Aura on them. Then swap to Durin since Sucrose had Thrilling Tales. And when swap cooldown is over, finally swap to Sitlali to her skill and burst, and then just spam Cryo with her normals. As you can see,
What the fuck? So right now we're actually playing Durin like Xiangling. Unironically. Like, we're playing on-field driver sit lolly for Cryo app. And we're playing Durin's ult as an off-field damage dealer. So it's actually on-field sit lolly to drive this. That's some wild shit. So Durin is unironically the new chef. New chef in town. This is actually so interesting. You know, chat, these buffs and the new Hexrise stuff, I think, is good for the game. It creates a break in the usual meta. Because, like, Bennett is not included in Hexarai, so you can't use Bennett if you want to use these. But this leads to stuff like this, right? Pretty good. You think we might see a new Hexarai in late 6.x? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I think the buffs are good for the game though in general. There's a lot more variety and the characters are strong enough to introduce new shit. Because this would usually be a Bennett situation, right? But now we run Sucrose. It's good. I think it's good. This brings back old shit.
Durin actually ends up hitting with a 275k melt. That's pretty impressive. Now, yet again, Sucrose is another
Hexarite is kind of bad because you need 2 Mondstack characters. I mean, that's just the most classic rage bait. Bro, most of these Mondstack characters are just fucking collecting dust in 99% of people's accounts. This is just for people who have these characters to have fun. It's not bad at all. Much rather have this than have them sit and collect dust for another fucking 5 years.
Hexarai unit I haven't explained to you, but she's quite simple. Now, when her Hexarai passive is enabled, her skill boosts everyone's damage by 5.7%, and then if burst is used, additional 7.1% is provided. And at C6, her burst now provides additional 8.5% damage boost for the element it absorbed. So in Durin's case, after I used Sucrose's skill and burst, he gained around 21% damage boost. Pretty nice in addition.
This is Sucrose's Hexarai buffs are like just a very minor amount of damage. 20% damage bonus. I don't think we're gonna get to HSR levels of damage inflation. So 21% damage bonus. Probably gonna feel like a 10% DPS increase, which is still nice, but not as impactful, for example, like Fischl. Like Fischl's 45% and then 180 EM if you get both of them, or just a single one. It's quite a big amount. 45% attack could be like at least 20% DPS. Kind of thick.
Into her usual EM and attack boosting from TTDS.
Thank God I don't want HSR damage bullshit. We might start getting it. Don't count that out. When I'm looking at this and all of these attacks and buffs and the amount of damage bonus and EM, we are going to get it. Because with Nod Cry and with EM scaling, it's already happening with EM. EM is already reaching to insanity levels. Like, you can't really stack more than 1.8k EM after all buffs. Because the damage bonus you get is fairly, like, minimal. So, once we get even more attack bonuses, or just more main stat, and then we scale up our crit damage, it's gonna start happening. You're gonna start getting 400% crit damage characters with 1.2k EM and like 4 to 5k attack. It's gonna happen. It's just slower in this game because Hoyo has done a lot more of what we call reverse power creep in this game. Where they release new characters and they end up being worse than the previous characters that released. That's why the 1.x characters are still fucking meta to this day. So it's very interesting the way Genshin has successfully managed to reverse power creep.
Bit unwieldy, and in general, I found much less success with melt.
Yeah, it's a lot more gradual, I think.
Comps that Dark Durin can excel in. Finally, this Yahoda team with Inefa and Farina is also quite unique for Dark Durin.
Yahoda.
Basically, with Ascendant Gleam, Yahoda can keep unleashing Hydra attacks from skill and burst, while also providing
heal, I have no idea what
helps
Yahoda
build
does.
Farina's damage percent buff, and then Durin can remain on field afterwards, just dealing physical damage. While his burst
is very
120k or so
Why is Inefa
base.
used here?
What's also cool, if you keep him on field,
Oh,
you can
I
give
see.
him
It's
the
for
Sky
Ascendant Ascending Gleam. This is so weird. This is on-field Vape Durin without Hexarai, but with Ascending Gleam.
To obtain 30%
What the
crit
fuck
rate
is
boost,
happening?
Since the team is in the Sin and Gleam state. It's a pretty...
Wait, is there 2 Hexarai in here? Am I missing something? 2 Hexarai? Why is there 2 Hexarai? No. Okay, just making sure. Because I was like, I don't think I see another Hexarai besides Durin.
unique team. Sadly, without him dealing infused pyro damage like he would with C6 Benny, it is a bit
Farina's
worse,
just
but
there
Neffa
probably
does
for the
make
damage
up for it
bonus.
with her own supported damage. Other than that, yeah, that's basically it. These are the best team variations I've found so far from Dark Durin. Of course, there's many more comps out there, but overall, I would say Vape Durin feels best with C6 Benny.
Guys, it's actually Mona meta now. Like, unironically. It's actually Mona meta. Especially if you have C6 Mona. Or just C4, not even C6. All you need is C4 Mona. And then she becomes a really solid support for Hexaray. I don't know if she's competitive for non-Hexaray teams, but she's really good for Hexaray.
And 2 other Hydro options.
Actually good.
Usually Mona and then either Farina or Yalan or Xingqiu. So this leaves us now with white mode Durin teams, and boy oh boy, let me tell you, there's tons and tons of them. So let me showcase the best ones I found so far. And the best way to start would be with good old Overload.
White mode Durin is everything except Vape Melt, which is basically Overload. I don't know if Geo is even in there or qualifies. Maybe Burning. And like a Nemo DPS. So Chaska? Would Chaska even benefit from white mode Durin? I feel like it doesn't even get benefit because Chaska deals 0 Anemo damage. So like, does Chaska Durin plus Bennett work plus Mona? No, I don't even think you need Hexra. I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even fucking know, man.
Comps.
I guess you
in
could
fact,
try.
In this team official, Benny and Chevy, Durin actually stays on field since Benny is C6, and honestly, it's pretty freaking strong. The beloved Homunculus is slightly worse than other pyro carries here, but he still gets the job done. And man, do I love spamming his charge attack into dash cancel. It's so fast and so satisfying to use. Kudos for Hoyo giving him such a fun charge attack animation, which also is practical with C6 Benny teams. However, what if we actually go for a dedicated pyro carrier like Arlecchino? Well, I tried out several variations of her teams. First one was with Fischl and Benny. Remember, Fischl provides here 45% attack buff for herself and Arlecchino when she's fielded, and it's pretty good.
I'm looking at this showcase, and it is glaringly obvious how much stronger Dark Durin with Vape is. Because this is C0 Arlecchino damage, and then the other comp is yeah, that's kind of insane.
In his place. This way, no more circle impact gaming, and honestly, it felt about as good as with Benny. But we can also go for Overvape Arlecchino. This way, she and Fischl also gain 180 EM, and with the usual N3 dash cancel combo with Arlecchino.
Got it.
Yeah,
so Fischl's fucking
best,
OP.
To be honest, at least to me. Definitely faster boss skill time.
So Fischl's just fucking strong.
Arlecchino for any of these teams I've shown with White Durin. The
damage difference I saw between these two comps, I'm like, wow, that is just a massive fucking Fischl difference. It's crazy. Wow.
But we and with the usual N3 dash cancel combo with Arlecchino, yeah, this one felt best to be honest, at least to me. Definitely faster boss skill time. In fact, you could swap out Arlecchino for any of these teams I've shown with White Durin and use another pyro carry, and it should be fine. Although, what about the new and improved
Okay, so Xlice is OP. Oh wait, I gotta read this. I gotta read this really briefly.
Playstyle right now.
I missed it just a little
bit. What about the new and improved Xlice? Since with Hex,
Xlice deals damage with normal attacks, skill burst, 1 boon badge, lasts for 20 seconds. Each type can attack 1 badge. When she has 3 badges, her special, it's a final damage increase. So final damage. Her charge attack is 1.5x stronger.
Xlice
With
buffs,
Xlice,
her
okay.
playstyle right now is just to spam her normal 3-hit combo, and she will unleash coordinated charge attacks for free. Plus, her normal string won't even reset, so you can dash to your heart's content to avoid getting hit, and continue with the onslaught of pyro attacks Xlice deals. Also, the Xlice I'm showcasing here is C0, but her
What the hell is that? What the hell's that damage? The fuck is that damage?
won't even reset, so you can dash to your heart's content to avoid getting hit, and continue with
Holy
the onslaught of
the
pyro
fucking
attacks
boss is
Xlice
HP.
deals.
What the
Also,
hell
the
is even
Xlice I'm
happening on my
showcasing here
screen?
is C0, but her Hexerite training also improved her
fuck is even
C1, C2, C4, and C6, which you can read about here as I yap, but improved her C1, C2, C4, and C6, and continue with the on her Hexerite training.
No, missed it. Attacks and skills have a certain chance to summon sparks, dealing damage equal to 120%. For 12 seconds, Xlice's attack is increased by 60%. Wow, they really wanted to improve her damage. 1.5x on her charge attack, 60% attack is about 1.3x.
Right training also
Defense, I think, is the same. I don't know if 23% defense reduction is the same.
improved her
think it should
C1,
be.
C2, C4, and
C4 used to be an explosion, right? It is still the same. If Xlice is on field when the explosion occurs, its damage will be increased. So they transformed her C4, which originally was a C4 nuke, from only off field to now being on field and stronger. Interesting. That's actually so interesting. It used to not have anything on field. Now it does, and it's stronger. So it's part of a rotation now. What the fuck?
C6, which you can read about here as I yap.
C6. One of the effects of her ult, she will regenerate 3 energy for all party members. It's the old one. For 25 seconds after, all party members gain a 10%, and she gains a 50%. Hexerai. When Xlice uses an explosive spark. What is explosive spark again? Fuck. Additionally, while her ult is active, normal attack have a 40% chance on the first to consume a spark, dealing additional attack equivalent to boom boom strike to her opponents. Okay. So basically, 50% power damage bonus, we can equate to about a 1.25 increase. 60% attack is a 1.3 increase. And then her charge attack is a 1.5. So 1.25 times 1.3 times 1.5 on her charge attack. So her charge attack is 2.4 times stronger.
Clay seems cracked.
Her charge attack, each charge attack is 2.4 times stronger with these bonuses. And everything else in her kit gains a 1.6 final damage increase. Wow, okay. Please. Cypher late with 8 to tier 1. Wait, so chat. You just do not play Xlice with Vape or Melt. Because she still has a motherfucker amount of pyro attacks. I was trying to phrase that properly, but it just came out as motherfucker. But yeah. So like you don't use Xlice with a normal Melt Vape comp because she has way too many attacks. So it's probably just a standard overload, right? It's like Chevy only, I think, is her comp. She doesn't really have flexibility, but her strongest comp is definitely this. Because this takes advantage of all of the res shred while also being able to deal raw damage, which is her purpose.
Attacks Xlice deals. Also, the Xlice I'm showcasing here.
So chat, you know, down the line, I feel like they might be slowly reducing ICD then. Oh my. That's crazy. That's crazy. People are waiting for the unicorn boss just to give it perma hydro cryo aura. Ah, okay, I can see that working. I can definitely see that working. Okay.
Is C0, but her Hexerite training also improved her C1, C2, C4, and C6, which you can read about here as I yap, but overall, Xlice feels really strong with Durin together. Both of them contribute not super big hits, but they happen a lot, especially with Xlice. I did see a couple of her coordinated charge attacks landing around 70k damage or so that's pretty good. Who else?
So for Xlice chat, her main benefit is not a damage per screenshot build, but she's like a Gatling gun. Like, unironically. You can just put a meme of like Xlice holding a Gatling gun and just firing. Because she just fucking sends like 10 attacks per second.
Who else? Oh my god, that's right, Razor! Man, he actually is so good here. There's a lot of stuff happening with his new kick changes. I don't even want to delve too deep, but long story short, Razor is now like a legit contender for an actually good DPS unit in the year of 2025. This team of Razor, Durin, Benny, and Chevy basically allows him to dish out big damage in smaller but fast hits. As you'll notice, his hardest hitting attack is 70k in Electro or so. But how he works right now is that with Hexray enabled buffs, his sigils are super easy to obtain, and he can land additional attacks when they overflow, which will happen.
No way, Razor in 2025. This is disgusting.
After using the skill, he still has that 1.0 jank in him. So without dash cancels, it would be miserable to play.
Is Razor actually better than Raiden Shogun with this? Oh no, man. How can my goat be dethroned like this? How is it even possible that my goat is dethroned? What the fuck? My 2.x character, Archon of the Inazuma region, gets fucking diffed by Wolf Boy from 1.x. Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell no.
His DPS would nosedive. On a side note, he also badly needs C6 Benny to work, similar to how on-field Durin works. But yeah, let me know guys if you want me to make a full-on Razor guide video. I'm not sure if there's a demand. I was a Razor main in the early days, so press like on this video to let me know if you're interested. But let's move away from overload comps and visit the nowadays meta for a minute. I am of course talking about Flint's team. Usually his best comp is him, Inefa, Aino, and Sucrose. Well, with Durin, now Inefa gets replaced by Fischl to enable Hexray buffing, and overall, I'd say this team is about as good as his premium meta comp. Maybe slightly worse, but it's quite impressive overall. And Flint's can dish out usual 300k Lunar Charge hits now with the additional Fischl and Durin also providing good sub DPS damage. There's also Burgeon
Meta
Durin
has changed a
with
lot,
Llama.
boys.
I wouldn't recommend running Burgeon Durin without Llama since she provides so much buffing for Bloom comps.
You know,
but
chat.
As you'll notice,
chat. It's actually interesting, but I feel like Hexarai is actually a genius marketing play to have old players return to the game and not feel pressured to pull all the new shit. Because with the first wave of Hexarai, I can definitely see them introducing this slowly for 2.x and 3.x, right? And like people who rely on those old characters who really like them can now use them and they're fucking giga strong, which is nice. So floor 12, chamber 1 first tap, opponents defeated 3 out of 41. That seems very venti coded. If I see a number like that, chat, that sounds like a ventiable fucking abyss chamber.
Durin is actually built here with full EM, while Kokomi with Nivelette act as high drop liars. It's good. It's actually really good against multiple enemies, and I've had a ton of fun with this comp. Sadly, none of the buffing from Durin matters here, since he can't shred Hydra resistance for Nuvi, and so the Dragon Boy is literally utilized for his off-field pyre replication. That's it. Now, stepping into Natlan, I want to talk about probably...
Like we know in game chat, off-field application is really, really, really important. Like, really important. That's why Aino is so damn useful, at least for now, until she gets power crept. But like, no matter what element it is, having off-field elemental application is like really important to enable those comps. We're getting into basically stable stuff, right? You have a main DPS carry, you have an off-field enabler, you have a res shredder, and you have a healer. And like, as we get more and more to the game, these roles are going to start to be coalesced into one slot, right? Because now we have someone like Mona, who's a massive buffer, but they can just hold prototype Amber and become a healer, right? And then we have Shieldin, who res shreds plus heals. Very standard stuff. And then now we have activation requirements. Ascendant Gleam and Hexarai.
My most favorite team with White Durin, and that is Kenichi comp with Albedo and Iansan.
Whoa!
Albedo is there to help enable...
What the hell is this comp? Ain't no way I'm looking at this comp. You're putting... We have a fucking Jensen, Durin, Kanish Albedo. What the fuck is this? I've never seen Dendro and Geo together, ever in a comp. This is unheard of.
Enable Hexerai, he only gives that small 12% damage buff for Kanish. However, Albedo is also equipped with Deepwood to shred enemies' Dendro resistance. And
Holy.
man, even at C0,
Holy, wait, he's actually cooking. So he did Durin with Albedo because of Hexerai. And then had Albedo use Deepwood. Oh my god. Albedo, Deepwood, Hexerai, because Albedo was buffed to buff Durin as well. And then Kanish gets Genshin because of movement, right? What the fuck? Oh, hell no.
Kanish can fire off 300k cannon shots. That's
What?
something that I would expect from C2 Kanish. But with so much buffing he's getting here, Resistance Shred and Noblesse buff from Durin, Iansun's Cinder City set plus her attack buffing, and then Albedo giving a small damage boost.
Oh my god, he's right. He's right. That's why you don't use Bennett here. That's why you don't use the other supports, because you actually have specific 4-piece sets that you can only enable with this comp. Holy, it's actually cooking. Holy, it's actually cooking. What the fuck? This is a Scroll of Cinder City Jensen.
Plus
Deepwood
said,
Albedo.
yeah, this is now one of my favorite comps.
What?
Now, granted, I don't believe I was able to trigger Cinder City for Durin here too, and you could remove Albedo from the team and use Emily instead. This way, even if the team only gets to now shred 20%, Durin could also equip Deepwood while Emily is on her Reverie set.
Hey, Genshin! It's about time you add artifact loadouts, because what the fuck am I reading? Hey, Gabe, put artifact loadouts! Please, I'm gonna be fucking using 4-piece Deepwood on the most random characters, man. Oh, hell no! I'm gonna fucking brick all my characters' builds for this shit.
So now she hits hard, and Kanish does so as well. Or heck, you could kick out Emily and use Benny instead of her.
Please,
now,
man,
Kanish
I'm
gets a ton of
begging.
attack buffs. So yeah, if you get Durin, Kanish mains are gonna be eating good.
Holy
now,
fuck.
another Natlin unit that gets to enjoy Durin's company would be Mulanni. Although, I'll be honest, in this team with Mona and Sucrose, in reality, the main reason why Mulanni is so good is thanks to Mona and Sucrose Hexerai buffs. Durin is mostly there to just provide off-field power application, so that Mulanni can vape then.
Ah, he didn't
Honestly,
crit,
I would even
classic.
consider running Dark Durin here instead of White mode, even if he won't really get to vape unless you go up against groups of enemies. Then you better keep him on
Maybe
White mode
in
so everyone gets
Genshin
power
too.
application. Now, another really cool team I enjoyed was
Holy.
Burning Load Clorant with Durin, Fischl, and Dendro unit, this time being Baiju. And it's pretty simple. You use Baiju first, then Fischl, then Durin.
Okay, guys, W patch. W patch. Actually insane. Seeing all of these new fucking comps are actually a cinema. This is actually absolute cinema to see the fucking changes. You are able to make some weird ass combos now, and they all work. That's flex play. Oh, this is fun, dude. This is fun.
And finally use
Holy
Clorant's
shit.
burst and spam her skill with normals. This way, while the enemy is burning, the reactions of Overload and Aggravate still get triggered due to how the auras interact from Electro. And
Wow.
honestly, I think from now on, I'm gonna be using Clorant way more often. Sure, her
Wow.
DPS isn't super huge, but her hits can aggravate.
Guys, you can
and
actually
Durin's
cook some
and
weird
Fischl's
shit.
off-field damage support, plus comfy healing and shielding coming from Baiju. This team was excellent, and in fact, I gave Clorant Thundering Fury set, which can almost, or I think immediately allows her to reactivate her skill when it's over. Not always useful, but good to have to finish off enemy. Last few comps with less commentary, double Geo team with Navia and Albedo
Chat.
plus Durin and
I have a
Benny
question.
was-
Who else do we have for off-field power application? Don't say Xiangling. I know Xiangling. Who else? Who else actually does dedicated off-field power app? Moika Dihya. PMC. So that's why they added Red Shred to him. So he still has competition. He still definitely has competition. But that's why they add Red Shred. Because Red Shred actually makes him definitely much more premium. Not only that, but it actually incentivizes you to add Hexarai. Okay. That's actually really cool. That's actually really cool. I think that I feel like Dihya's gonna get phased out now, right? Yeah, I feel like Dihya's gonna get phased out. There's not much benefit Dihya has anymore, especially with this. Not that you guys were like going super excited for Dihya in the first place, but you guys know what I mean. Like some people were using a Dihya for off-field power up. Yeah.
Was alright. It didn't wow me, but that's been the case with Geo overall, although I still think this comp was pretty strong and gave me an excuse to run Albedo yet again. Though, if you do want some usual broken power, then Chaska with Durin, Mona, and Benny won't disappoint you, and it did wonders for me, which is what usually you can expect from Chaska comps. Just keep in mind, only her Pyro Bullets will deal increased damage from shredding, Hydro won't get shredded by White Durin. Now, I was keeping the last
So
as the best.
he did do this.
Well, best in my opinion in terms of wacky fun.
Wait!
There's also Hexarai Venti. If you haven't heard, this guy is now—
Wait! This must cook. This must cook. This must cook, right?
a main DPS, and I even equipped him with the new signature bow. And in this team of Durin, Farzan, and Benny, I didn't think we would see this in our timeline, but Venti's skill now literally can hit for over 100k damage. What is happening right now? Okay, so in a nutshell, with Hexarai enabled,
guys, we gotta see if Venti can pull off single target damage with this. That would be the most impressive thing for me. Because we know that Venti is super, super good in AoE. He will always be one of the best choices for vacuuming out small mobs. That has never changed. But meta right now is super beefy single target enemies. So, yeah.
Burst is deployed, him causing a swirl makes it so that he gains 50% damage boost, and his burst will release an additional 135% damage hit. Not only that, but during the burst, his normal attacks become these Windsunder arrows, which have a pretty big multiplier and can pierce, and he can extend with them burst duration by additional 2 seconds. So yeah, he slaughters groups of enemies now so easily, and with all the buffing he's getting, because remember, Durin shreds 35% of Animo and Pyro.
You guys missed the fucking
causes a swirl.
Plus, text that is
animal shredding coming from Farzan. So yeah, from my experience so far, I think he's up there, if not better than Wanderer or Xiao. Strong words, I know. Although animal units
stronger than Xiao. I see. I see. I see. What a wild timeline we're in, guys. Stronger than Xiao.
Venti does.
Wait, Chad, do we not have the essaying emote?
That still stays true. Although, even in Stygian's new upcoming rotation, he kicks butt hard. So yeah, it's hilarious to see Venti back from the dead. So, what do I think about Durin? Well, I think it's easy to see that this guy is basically going to end up in almost any team. Some will perform as usual, some better, some slightly worse. Overall, I wouldn't say that he is a massive improvement over any team, although few that come to mind that definitely can use him as an upgrade would be Kinich comps, Claran's Burning Glow team felt great, and of course, Durin's own teams where he's utilized in dark form can be powerful. But as I said at the start of the video, the catch is that he desperately wants C6 Benny, so he can then spam his Pyro-infused charge attacks. Otherwise, you do lose out on a lot of extra DPS if he would be spamming just regular physical damage. So yeah, if you want to play on-field Vape or sometimes Melt Durin, he needs C6 Benito. But as you saw, his dark mode can work off-field pretty well. The only drawback with him right now is that he doesn't have a good or consistent artifact set. Same goes for weapons. Like Finale of the Deep free-to-play option doesn't always trigger its passive even with a healer on a team, and so I found it's best to just give him any of the 5-star stat stick. If you don't have it, well then Lion's Roar or something would be decent.
Remember the ancient days of C6 Bennett bricks your account? I don't know how much of that meme still exists to this day. I've heard it like in the last like 2 to 3 years. I feel like most people, well, I wouldn't say most, but like, I feel like a vast majority of players who are pretty well invested already have C6. I don't think there's a single reason right now to like not keep him C6 unless you're playing maybe like a 3.x or earlier comp. Because everything from 4.x onwards has specific text saying like, you know, cannot be overridden by other infusions and stuff like that. So
too. I also showcased him in quite a few teams with signature, and overall, I'd say it's not a massive increase to his personal damage, about 14%.
Here's a funny
or so.
thing to
like,
check out
especially to play him with dark mode, since it provides a lot of team-wide buffing with second Hexrai unit. So I think it's pretty cool how any stat stick or even Wolfang from Battle Pass can compete with it. Otherwise, the potential Durin has...
So his signature is not a must-have, is what I'm understanding from this, right? Which is good.
Any stat stick or even Wolfang from Battle Pass can compete with it. Otherwise, the potential Durin has is vast, and I really do think the best thing about him is that you can just come up with so many different team comps. I literally had like 40 tested, but to keep the video on the shorter side, including the variations, I only showed about half of them. Maybe we can expand on that in his guide video, but overall, if you like the idea of getting creative with this new unit, and you have a bunch of older Mondstadt units invested into, specifically Fischl, Sucrose, and Mona, there's a lot of ground that you can cover with just these 4 Hexrai unit combinations. But I do believe that most Hexrai units here will benefit a lot from Durin on their team. So on the flip side, if you want to play with buffed Hexrai units and you want a strong upgrade for their teams, Durin is a no-brainer choice. Anyway, hope you found this video interesting. I'd really appreciate if you could press the like button and subscribe to my channel. And I'm off to work on the Hexrai stuff.
W video. I'm gonna go, I'll like it. I'm on incognito right now, but I like the video, it's good. I gleaned a lot of information from this. This is a good video.